Our Free and Equal segment tonight, the Code Pink protester who was thrown out of Senator Jeff Sessions' confirmation hearing yesterday didn't even know his name. She yelled, "No to Jim Sessions." Check it out.
Why am I being taken out of here? This man is evil, pure evil. Do not vote for Jim Sessions.
Yet these are the same people who are hurling ugly accusations of racism at Senator Sessions, saying he's unfit for Attorney General. Not only do they not know him personally, it seems like they haven't even looked at his record. So with me now to take a look at it, from the Daily Caller News Foundation, Kevin Daley. Kevin, hi, how are you?
Liz, great to be with you.
It's always good to have you here. Kevin, let's talk about Jeff Sessions in the personal sense first. All of his colleagues, and I don't just mean Republicans, all of his colleagues on both sides of the aisle have said that he is the kindest, most collegial man they have ever worked with. I don't understand where these accusations are coming from.
Yeah, as a general matter, most of his colleagues say he's extremely genteel and a pleasure to work with. A lot of these allegations stem from his nomination to the federal bench by President Reagan in 1986. During his confirmation hearings before the Senate Judiciary Committee then, allegations surfaced that he secretly harbored racial prejudices. Those allegations were substantiated by a couple of witnesses brought by Democrats to testify before the committee, and ultimately the White House withdrew those accusations. So most of those allegations, which continue to be widely reported both among liberal commentators and in the mainstream press, are still in wide circulation, even though I'd say they come from fairly dubious sources.
Right, and I want to be very clear here. I want to be very honest about what these allegations are, because if they are in fact true, it is, I think, a mark against his character. But one of the allegations says that Senator Sessions made a racially insensitive joke about the KKK and marijuana. Was this a joke in bad taste? Was this a racist joke? What exactly happened here?
So what Sessions said was something to the effect of, I liked the KKK until I discovered that they smoked marijuana. That obviously is, I think, a distasteful joke, but I think it's very obviously a joke. And in fact, when that comment was read in the Senate Judiciary Committee hearings back in 1986, there's actually laughter in the transcript. So you can see that there were people in the room who registered that it was in fact a joke, and they did laugh. But I would not contest that is a pretty distasteful remark. There were other allegations that he had privately...
It seems to me like a dumb joke, something he shouldn't have said, but I guess I'm not trying to come to his defense if he did say something racist, but it also seems to me objectively like an attempt, a failed attempt perhaps, to be satirical.
Yeah, I think that's true. There were other allegations. There was a black staffer whose name is Thomas Figures, who alleged that Sessions called him boy in private and said things to the effect of, you should watch what you say around white folks. But I have some reporting that suggests that Figures is not an individual who should be taken seriously. The Daily Caller was able to obtain affidavits that very recently were executed from federal investigators and colleagues who worked with Mr. Figures in the U.S. Attorney's Office for many years, and who said that Figures is not an individual to be taken seriously. One of these affidavits, which came from a 25-year veteran of the FBI, said that Figures believed that Dan Rather, the famous CBS News anchor, was secretly sending him messages during his nightly news broadcasts, and that he was an extremely paranoid individual. So the thrust of these accusations of racism come from an individual who, by multiple accounts, is at best paranoid and at worst deeply disturbed. So I think these allegations that Jeff Sessions is personally a racist are unfair in the extreme. Now, you could take issue with some of the policies that he supports and say that these policies, whatever their intention, have a disparate impact on minorities. So, for example, Jeff Sessions is an opponent of reforming the United States sentencing guidelines. There are many who contend, even in conservative circles, that the sentencing guidelines have a disparate impact on minorities and that they are in need of reform. So you could fairly say that this is an important civil rights issue and that we could oppose the senator's nomination to the attorney generalship on those grounds. But I think it is extremely uncharitable and, in fact, totally unfounded to say that Jeff Sessions is personally a racist.
Right, and Kevin, I think what you just said is probably the best example that I've heard in a very long time of sound journalism, that you took the allegations, you investigated them, to see if there was any substantial evidence that they were in fact true. You said which ones were true, you said which ones weren't true. It's funny, we didn't hear any of this from any of the protesters at Jeff Sessions' hearing yesterday. I do want to add one other allegation here. Allow me to play the devil's advocate for a minute. Jeff Sessions has been criticized because he criticized the NAACP. He said they are an un-American and communist-inspired organization. Kevin, he's received a ton of flack for that.
Yeah, that's not a remark that I would make, and I do think it is not a fair characterization of the NAACP, and I think that if Jeff Sessions could take another swing at that remark, he certainly would. I won't defend it, and today I don't think he would either. But I think one could fairly say is that organizations like the NAACP are affected by mission creep. So when they are first founded, they have a laudable and legitimate civil rights agenda, which after the civil rights movement accomplishes everything that it has, begins to creep more and more towards a political agenda. So the NAACP, I think Jeff Sessions would say, and I think critics would say, is no longer an organization that makes a serious moral claim to civil rights reform, and instead is a political organization pushing a political legislative agenda to support liberal Democrats. That, I think, is a legitimate critique to make of the NAACP, but I don't think that it is at all in good taste to say that they are an un-American organization. We all, as Americans,
the communist aspect of the comment,
the
communist aspect of the comment, I do think, and I guess I wouldn't defend the comment either, but I think it can be at least explained just given the fact that the co-founder, W.E.B. Du Bois, he joined the Communist Party in 1961. So there is some element of correlation there, even if the comment itself was perhaps non-constructive here. But final question here, Kevin, and this goes back to the personal aspect, because like it or not, even if policies impact the United States more than people's personality, the American people tend to care about the character, the person of the politician themselves, not the policies. And as U.S. Attorney General, Jeff Sessions prosecuted the son of a KKK member for murdering a black teenager. Then when he was the Attorney General of Alabama, he had that murderer executed. He also worked to desegregate schools. And I guess my question here, maybe this is more of a rhetorical question, but could or would a racist have done any of those things?
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem very likely to me. As you say, he prosecuted members of the KKK. He worked to desegregate schools in Alabama. You can take issue with certain stances he has now, but certainly based on his actions as U.S. Attorney in Alabama and based on the accounts of African Americans and other minorities who have worked with him, it just is totally unfounded to say that Jeff Sessions has racist sympathies.
Right, and I think it's quite a stark contrast. I said this yesterday, but I want to say it again. It's quite a stark contrast to the attorneys general that we've experienced under President Obama, who thought that their role as attorney general was to interpret the law in the way that they wanted, whereas Jeff Sessions understands that his role would be to enforce the laws that are already on the books, not to interpret them. Kevin, that's all the time we have for today, but thank you so much for being here. All right, guys, what do you think? Let us know as usual on Twitter at Liz_Wheeler. Meantime, we'll be right back.